This is Tommy Chong, man, and this is Wake and Bake with Captain Hooter.
It's Captain Hooter.
Hello? Morning. Morning.
What's happening, everyone? Hooter here, coming to you high and alive, getting ready to get my speed on. We're getting ready to have an amazing interview with one of the OG legends, Adam Brooke, from the Hash Bash.
Listen carefully. We don't have much time. The
Okay, listen.
RL-98 is a $250 billion piece of equipment. We've got to get it to Nevada.
Okay.
Press the red button to initiate takeoff.
Uh-huh.
Then grab the flight controls to accelerate.
Okay.
Make sure you build up speed gradually.
Okay.
You made it this far. Whatever you do, don't stall the engine.
Don't stall the engine. Okay. Listen, everyone. I'm going to start this project of getting this $250 billion aircraft to wherever it's going. And you guys enjoy this interview with Adam Brooke. I will be back as soon as we get into space. Are you ready? Let's do this. What's happening, everybody? Hooter here, coming to you once again, possibly too high and alive, once again, with a brand new Wake and Bake with Captain Hooter. And today I have one of the great legends, a legend from going ways back to the beginning of the Hash Bash, Adam Brooke. Adam, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me.
I am delighted to have you. I have talked about you, been around you a million times, but never actually got a chance to shake your hand or say hello to you. And every person I've ever talked to talks about you in glorious, with glorious terms of what a great experience it is.
Well, I appreciate that.
No pressure.
I appreciate that. It, as an activist, there's certainly a lot going on out there. You meet a lot of people, and you don't like everybody. But I have been doing this for a long time, so it's good to hear that somebody's talking nice about me.
You know, you have one of the most impressive resumes I think I've ever looked at, or a CV if you're here in Europe. I love all the descriptions of all the jobs and all of the adventures that you've been on. It's incredibly entertaining. You have done it all in this business, haven't you?
I have done it all and then some. And that's one of the things about me is I like experiences. I enjoy participating. I like to learn new stuff. So for me, a lot of the things I've done have just been about, hey, I can move on from point A to point B, and I'm not one of those people who has to move on. See, so it's nice that I leave I improve everywhere I go. I try to bring skills I learned from other places to the next jumping point, and I've done a lot of stuff over the years.
No shit. Well, you're most known as the host and MC, and you're mostly connected with the Hash Bash. Now, how long have you been doing this, and how did you get started with it in the beginning?
I got involved in the Hash Bash in the late 80s, and I was it was a one-man operation basically. I mean, I emceed it, and I would be responsible for gathering a list of speakers and things like that. I mean, I did that for about 25 years, and people started calling me Mr. Hash Bash, and Adam L Brook became this persona almost, whereas Mr. Hash Bash was something that people knew me as. I mean, I was able, because of who I was and where I was to get involved in things at the time when a lot of people were afraid to get involved. And I was
Yeah.
able to put my neck out there back in the day when nobody knew. I mean, I would go to events where there'd be 200 people and 100 of them never smoked weed out of their house. You know, times were very different back in the day. And I was one of those out people. So.
Yeah. You were also one of those people that broke down the walls. You were a freedom fighter. I think Freedom Fighter of the Year, correct?
I was 1994.
1994, and you also paid a price. You had to go and you know, serve some time in the joint, and so did, you know, I just had Mark Emery on, and I'm going to ask you the same question. You already had a reputation by the time you went in there. You were already Mr. Hash Bash, right? When you, yeah,
I was.
so
They told me what. So I went to Jackson Prison. I went to part of the old Jackson Prison, known as Parnell. And they told me that I was the most famous inmate there since Jack Kevorkian had been
there. Yeah, baby. You know, it's funny because I asked Mark the same question. I said, did it hurt you or did it help you? And he goes, oh no, it helped. It helped a lot.
So yeah, not to get off on a tangent, but I like telling this story, so I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
So while I was in prison, word got out that I was Mr. Hash Bash. And every group that got weed on the compound. Now, that means when the black guys got weed, when the white supremacists got weed, when the Native Americans got weed, when the gay guys got weed, when the white guys got weed, when this group, every group, when they got their package of weed on the compound, somebody would reach out to me and say, hey, we got weed on the compound and we'd like to get you high.
Yeah.
And because I was being drug tested, because I was being given opiates, because I arrived on such a high dose, they would drug test me randomly. And if I tested positive for weed, they would have taken away my visits for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And my wife was coming every Saturday and I was eating like a king in the visiting room. So I didn't want to risk that, but I was always willing to be the lookout for the guys smoking weed in the prison. But yeah, there's other prison stories related to being famous, but that's one of those things that, it certainly helped.
Yeah. Well, Mark had the exact same thing. You know, he did 5 years and he was seed man. And he talked about, they always test him on 421 because they knew that he always held that big conference he did on 420. They said, if he's ever going to get dirty, he's going to piss dirty on 421. And, you know, he talked about all the price you would pay though if you piss dirty. You know, it would be such a huge price to pay. That
it was. I mean, I was only gone for 2 years, so for me, you know, I missed two things really, really, really bad. I missed pussy and weed.
There you go.
And not necessarily in that order. But I did all right. All right. I had both in the parking lot before I left.
Yeah, there you go.
What more could I do? They didn't get the best of me. I mean, you know, I got a shady deal. I'm not, you know, I don't really talk about it much, but I got a real shady deal. They came after me for weed and they tagged me with some guns and leave me the fuck alone. I wasn't bothering nobody. It just was shady, and it is what it is, and I don't bitch about it. But I made sure I had fun for those 2 years. I mean, I wasn't going to let them get the best of me. So
yeah.
you know,
Okay.
I got a lot of good stories.
Okay. None that you can necessarily want to give up yet. We'll get you.
Not yet. They come as they come.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. I love your background.
Thank you.
You've got.
Sorry.
That's
the
it.
monument. I can show you. It's the monument pisser right out in front of the greenhouse. You can actually find it on the maps of Amsterdam.
Yep.
You'll see for your viewers, you'll see the white sheet hanging down. This photo was taken on an afternoon after it was cleaned, and a guy moved in actually and took a nap and moved his pillows and blankets in. And I believe he was there overnight and left the next day.
Yeah. Great country. And if you're looking at that map right there, and you were to go across the canal and walk to the left about 45 seconds, you will be at the old monument house that I was living at when I wrote The Connoisseur's Guide to the Amsterdam Coffee Shops. That was my base for all to walk to all of as many that I could walk to was right there. And that's also, this view right here is where you will usually find Steve Hayes on any other day, every other day.
That's
He'll be
where we
sitting.
took the photo from. Sitting. I mean, I've got video on this corner. I got all kinds of shit in front of that thing.
That's crazy. Now, how long have you known Steve Hayes?
20 years.
Yeah.
22 years since he's been in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I went in 94 was the first time I ever went.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been going ever since. And me and Steve been friends for years. I mean, good friends. He's a really good guy. And I'm trying to get back there, actually. I'm about to have some surgery in a couple of weeks. And I'm hoping to get there for like a couple of weeks in August and then hopefully the month of November.
Okay. If you can squeeze yourself in there sometime in September, I'll be there also. That's when the Jack Herrera Cup is going to be there. And that happens, I think, the second week of September, I believe.
I was there for Jack Herrera Cup when Bobby West had his squash.
Yeah, he's going to be there this year. They're
Oh,
going to do a squash off on the second day of the finals this year as well. And a place you probably haven't seen yet, which is where they do the event now, is a place called the Tam Tam Club, and it's a beach place. So you've got outdoor, and you can smoke, and it's owned by one of the shop owners that owns the Yanks Coffee Shop. And
where is it?
The name of the city. It's about
How
30.
far out is it?
It's about 30 minutes outside of Amsterdam. It's at the beach. Yeah, it's at the beach.
Okay, so it's a scooter ride if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It was awesome last year. Obviously, Mila's going to be there, and a whole bunch, all the locals.
What are the dates? Do you know? I'm sorry, not
September. I believe it's September 10th is the date of the actual event, the award event. If you're going to be there, I'll get you in touch with the gentleman that runs that. And there's testing that takes place ahead of time. And I know that Uncle Stoner would love to have you as one of the judges for the squash off.
I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I got to figure out getting there and all that. I got to figure all that out. But yeah, I'll definitely look at that. That'd be awesome.
Did you get a chance to, I mean, when we talk about other legends, and I put you in this category of like, and Uncle Stoner talked about Jack Herrera, for an example.
We're great friends. Yeah, I used to bring Jack out. So in 88, 89, Jack used to come out to Hash Bash each year on the hemp tour. Hash Bash was part of it.
Yeah.
And we met each other and we became friends, and we would meet up at other events all across the country. And I was a young Jewish kid and he was an older Jewish guy, and we had that connection. And, he stayed at my house in Ann Arbor when he was in town a couple times. I actually own, because I didn't return it because I'm a thief, a poncho that he got while he was in town because he was really old.
Yeah.
And he wore a poncho, and then he came back another year and I had the poncho, and he's like, "Oh, that's my poncho." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's your poncho. I have it here for you. You left it, and I figured you'd need it next, when you came back." And then when he left, it wasn't with him. I can guarantee you that.
I've heard nothing but great stories about that man. I haven't heard one person tell. Yeah, it's something else. Did you get involved at all with any of the High Times people?
Oh, sure. Because I was Freedom Fighter of the Year, I was good friends with Steve Hager and John Holmstrom, and we used to go to. I was at their anniversary party, and I knew, Kyle Cushman and all these people as they were rolling through. Because I did the Hash Bash, I would be introduced to them as a big guy, a big well-known dude.
Yeah.
So they all know. Okay, so people ask me, "Do you know this guy? Do you know that guy? Do you know this guy?" Yes, they all know me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how it is. Because when I'd be introduced to them, they'd know who I was. They may not have met me, but they already knew who I was.
Right.
And a lot of the High Times people in the Hager era, I was there for all of that. And,
we were talking about
crazy shit.
we were talking about the Chef Raw. Do you
Yeah.
remember Chef Raw?
Real well. He was a great friend of ours.
He was hilarious because everybody that I knew thought he was Jamaican. And
No, right.
yeah.
Oh, he was a taxi cab driver from Chicago.
Yeah.
And great guy, good friends with Steve Hager. They went to high school together. And Ra used to. So here's, all right,
Yeah.
we'll get into some, we can tell stories and get into some activism at the same time.
Okay.
I figured out a long time ago that I could use names for companies that weren't participating in my event if I invited some of their employees to my event. So if I invited Steve Hager, I could use Steve Hager, the editor-in-chief of High Times magazine. Now, at one point, Steve Hager didn't show up and I didn't invite them again. After saying they would come, they didn't show up. It did, okay, it happens. But Chef Raw was a friend of ours. He was a friend of my buddy Tom Harris's. And all I had to do was call him and he'd come to Hash Bash. And all I had to do was pick him up at the airport with a case of Budweiser in the backseat of the car. And he was happy. If I could find some Durban poison, he was even more happy. But, you know, he came every year and I could use the High Times name if he came.
Yeah.
So we made sure we invited people like that. You know, we wanted all these, the names that you were seeing in High Times and the activists that people knew. We wanted them to come and hit our event because that was important to build up. Remember, this is long before social media.
Yeah.
This is long before the ability to do what we do now. This was sending out 300 faxes to 300 media outlets, hoping that a couple of them would pick up your story because then it would get run in the AP and it would maybe get some traction. But you know, it was totally different than it is now. So
Sure.
we
Look
were
at the
friends.
difference.
How about a guy by the name of the Lone Reefer?
Lone Reefer.
This cat, the Lone Reefer, man. People are like, "What? The Lone Reefer?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. Google." So this cat showed up dressed as a cowboy. Is all I could tell you. And in his holster, he had flyers. He would have, or joints, depending on where he would be.
Yeah.
And this cat was great. He was from Pennsylvania, and that was the thing, is that the freedom fighters were these group of people from all over America, and many of us were, you know, pretty wacky.
Yeah.
And
Can you talk a little bit more about the freedom fighters? Because I know they can
yeah.
Google it, but I mean the foundation of it.
So the Freedom Fighters were a group started by High Times magazine and Steve Hager. And basically it was set up to be a group of people who went around as a core group of activists from event to event to event to event, and showed up to be the backbone of these events. So the example, you have a rally at your state capitol. You have what, 10, 15 speakers, right? If they stood behind you, it's empty. Well, if we bring 50 people to stand behind you, now it looks like there's 50 people there. Mm-hmm. Signs, banners, all kinds of shit. And it was all theatrics. Now, as a side note, the little activism tidbit, back in those days, I used to pull up with a vehicle that had a bunch of walkers and canes in it. If we were at a rally at the Capitol, and as friends would walk by, I'm like, here, dude, walk up there with this walker, walk up there with this cane. Because the more infirmed people you had showing up at a weed rally during the age of fuel, food, fiber, and medicine.
Wow.
Right. It was a psychological play on these people. And it was paid actors is all they were. They just weren't getting paid. They were all volunteers. Wow. And we were creating an image that we wanted people to see. And I think it was important. And you learn to do that when you realize this stuff makes a difference. So
did you know back then that, I mean, medical was going to be the path?
So, okay. So yes, because we knew it was how you open the door. It's a lie. Can I say that on your show?
Sure, absolutely. You can say
all right, I'm going to offend a lot of people. First of all, my friend Dennis Perone, God rest his soul, he once said all marijuana use is medicinal. And I believe that. I'm not gonna deny that. However, I'm a realist, and I grew up in the retail sector in America. And medical is a lie. That's not where the market's at. The market is in adult use. The market is in the consumer, the custody, the guy who doesn't know the difference between strain A, B, C, D, whatever, and he's willing to buy a gram or two of each. That's what the game is all about. So, you know, I mean, what was I working for? I was working for the day when people aren't arrested.
Yeah.
Now, we still have a long way to go in that. But this industry is great. Now, industry all over this country is fucked up. It's everywhere. But that's great.
How are the prices holding up there?
Oh, the bottom's falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was at an event. I was at we call them a caregiver event. It wasn't a licensed event or anything like that. Caregiver event. Guys had bows out on the table and fucking turkey bags. And cats were selling $500 a bow, buy two, get one free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
guys were buying this shit so they could go put it in $10 bags and sell it in Chicago.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's still a market for that, people. There always will be a market for that. Don't think that your silly systems are going to get rid of that. That's part of the market. But you got to not arrest people for it. You got to not care about it. That's what I'm fighting for.
Right. How's the black market? You still have a black market there?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Stronger than ever. That's all
Booming.
I smoke.
Yeah.
That's all I smoke is black market weed. I don't smoke no dispensary weed. That's
they-
not true.
Do they
I
have
lied.
is it dispensary weed all in packaging, everything that you have? So it's all, or can you see it?
depends. Our laws are a little different. There can be deli style someplace. You can do what you want, but there's a lot of packaged weed. I actually have some friends who they got a thing going on. They're a licensed brand, and because they're nice people, I'll give them a little shout out. But I get these little pre-roll. They're not so little either. I get a pre-roll.
Wow.
It's this called Shit's Fire.
Oh,
It's 2 grams of flour with a glass tip, and it comes from the Cannabis, and they got them in the market, in the metric system, and I really, really, really like these. They're well done. The flavor's good. The flour's good. I really appreciate those. So that's like the only dispensary weed I smoke.
mhm.
Other than that, in that pre-roll, everything I get is from caregiver stuff. I'm still working. I did an event,
Wow.
and these were all the tributes I was giving at an event.
Wow.
And,
It's
and
good to be Mr. Hash Bash.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work through all that. So
Wow.
it's
Now, do you dab at all? Do you like dabbing?
yeah, I'm a big dabber. I actually, speaking of Uncle Stoner, I'll give him a shout out. I use a nectar collector
Oh, there it is.
from the USA Squash Off. Of course, it's a little embarrassingly dirty at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I've got a couple of the collector editions from the Squash Off. I like dabbing. I got a bunch of rigs. I'm real into dabbing. To me, dabbing is like so I like to tell people that when the first time you got high, not the first time you smoked weed, because you might not have got high.
Right.
First time you got high, you said to yourself, man, this is fucking great. What's next? Not like heroin and cocaine like the government will want you to think, which, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to comment on those things. But what's next? Like, how do I get higher? How do I THC more? How do I cannabinoid more? What? All right. So all these years later, all of a sudden, now dabbing has become popular. You have to know that 20 some years ago, some cat showed up from California to Hash Bash one year, and he had a cocaine vial, that a 2-gram cocaine vial that he had filled with oil. And he took a pin and he put it in there and he lit the pin and you inhaled the pin on a straw.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. He knocked out a room. I watched him walk around the room and these people were all sitting on the floor in a circle. And he knocked them all out one at a time. Bam, 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 all the way around the room. So, and if you're old enough to remember the Goldfinger in the back of High Times magazine, which was a little glass extractor, it's been around for a long time. But when dabbing got big, I realized, hey, this is like the next best thing, because you can go from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. Yeah. You can smoke that whole joint of cannabinoids in one dab on your way out the door to go to work. You know, you don't have to smoke that whole joint. And this whole non-odor thing, this change in the odor calculation is massive. So I'm a huge fan of dabs. I'm happy people figured out how to produce them cleanly. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, the best part is you're not really that dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, you may fuck up and blow up your neighborhood, but you're not gonna kill. You're not like fentanyl dangerous. You know? You're not gonna knock out rows and rows and rows of people because morons are doing this. You know, granted, morons are blowing up their houses, and you know. The gas company's really pissed too, because every time the fucking gas company gets an explosion, the cops are in there right away looking like, well, where's the weed? Where's the weed? And they're like, come on, this says weed, man. We fucked up. We're the gas company. We do it all the time.
So I'm just like you. I'm looking for the next. What's the next upgrade? Have you done?
And hold on, real quick. Hold on. And when it comes to dabbing, all these old heads are happy it didn't include needles. Yeah. Because I'm convinced, you know, half of us are diabetics now. So we're stabbing each other, you know, stabbing ourselves. Never thought we'd be putting needles in us. And I'm just happy that I don't have to shoot up THC because, you know, I would. I'm not against it.
God, I think that's where I would draw the line. I'll try all that shit. I try the two that we were talking about, the inhalers. Like if you have asthma, 10 milligrams.
Yeah,
10
I know
milligrams.
people inhalers.
Okay, inhalers in the nose, that like Vicks vapor rub stuff, and they've got those that are dosed, so they're like 10 milligrams. By the way, I used to know a guy that did blow that used to have one of those things, and that was the way he did his blow. It looked like a Vicks inhaler, and he would click it.
Yeah, they call them bullets.
Bullets. Okay, there you go.
Bullets.
Yeah.
And they delivered a metered out dose.
Yeah. Microdosing.
Yeah. They're the best. Yeah, it's exactly like micro. Listen, there is a medicinal use to cocaine. I'm not going to deny that.
Well, my dad did it for 80 years, until he was he was a dealer for years and years and years, and had all kinds of celebrity clients. And he stopped when he was 80 years old, when his last client died.
There you go.
As long as he wasn't paying for it, he was good with it. But then as soon as he had to pay for it, I'm out.
Done. Right.
When you have a name like Mr. Hash Bash, you must have smoked the most amazing hash in the world.
Well, I have. And I mean, again, I'm really, really lucky because of who I am and who I've been introduced to and who I know. And because I know people like, you know, Steve Hayes, I'm able to experience things that many other people are not. Right. So, you know, I've smoked the Moroccan hash that nobody sees anymore, but is readily available when I get there.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that because of some of the people I know, there are also some of the best available. So the people who are talking about the next level stuff, the THCA, the THCO, the THC, this, that, and the other thing. You know, you meet those people. I call it a generation before, but you know, as things move through the cycle, I know people a lot sooner than other people do because
Sure.
of who I.
Okay, so you led into that perfectly. What do you think of? So I've been hearing a lot, and especially over here in Europe, and just the last bit, THCO and THCP. Those are the THC. P is 30 times stronger than THC, and O is 300 times. But to get that 300 times, you have to do the processing, which is the same as what they do to extract heroin from opium, as I understand it. That's how you get that ultimate thing. Have you tried it? How is it? I was told that it's so good that if you smoke all day long, you'll take one hit and you'll say, I'm good today.
I was invited over to. No, I haven't done it. But
Okay.
oh man, can I name drop? Am I allowed to name drop?
I won't tell anybody, I promise.
I should use the non de plume though, right?
No. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Sam the Skunk Man invited me to the house because if you're going to try it, you got to be somewhere where there's a couch because you're going to take a nap for a while. And I just didn't have time the last time I was there to make that happen. But yeah, my point is very much so that that's the future of all of this. And that's what's so great about it. And yeah, what's so wrong with it? If it does what we need it to do and we can take less of it, even better.
I've had two people.
Technology is awesome.
Yes. Well, and that was the other thing is the nanotechnology, the Trojan horse effect. Did you ever get a chance to meet Renus in Amsterdam? The guy.
Of course.
So he's got a product that is just now being launched basically all around the Netherlands, which is his water. And and it is, the reviews are coming in, and it's phenomenal. I can't wait to try it. I've talked to some people in the States who are drinking it now in different versions, and they're kids, right? These are guys in their 30s, and this kid, he says, I smoke and I dab all day long. And he says, just naturally, my intake has been cut in half by just taking a little sip of this water every once in a while. And he says, it's wild. Okay, I need a case.
Right. Exactly right.
I love this new technology, right? Okay, but I want to try and get specific. I asked Mila this question. I said, what's the best hash you've ever smoked in your life? And, she's very Buddhist about it. And she said, it's whatever I'm smoking right this moment, right? Okay, you can be more specific. Give me a top three. What was the best hash you ever?
Oh no, I like the shoe. I'm real into the shoe that comes from Mr. Hayes. And I like Moroccan hash. I like the flavor. I mean, I'm into the flavor. That's my thing is, some places hash tastes one way, other places it tastes another way. When you find something that you like, it. And if you can get it, great. If you can't, then it becomes, all right, what's available that's next? What am I gonna find that will tempt my palate or tease my palate? And it's I don't know. I've had stuff that I like, this Lebanese blonde stuff.
What did I hear you talking about the other day where you were talking about the little naked boys?
The Moroccan naked boy hash.
Yeah, Moroccan naked boy hash.
Here's a piece of Lebanese hash with a gold stamp still in it. That's about a 10-gram chunk.
Oh, hello.
This comes through Israel, actually, which I'm proud to say. These are.
Now, how do you smoke it? You're being an American. How do you smoke it? You don't smoke it with tobacco.
No. I don't smoke tobacco at all.
Yeah.
I generally, if I'm going to smoke this hash, I'll put it in a little hash pipe.
You smoke it pure?
Pure. But I also roll it up in some weed if I. See, that's again. I'm not looking to use the hash as a boost for the weed. I'm looking to enjoy the flavor of the hash.
Yes.
So I want to taste the hash in its own pipe. I'll be as spoiled as to only smoke one flavor hash out of a particular pipe.
Oh, I love your style, buddy. Look at me. Look at me, my hash only pipe. I don't smoke any tobacco. And when I smoke hash, I've got my little hash pipe. And that works
Right.
just fine for me. And I will change the screen out in between the different types of hashes. You know what's funny? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I normally wear bib overalls, and in my overalls there's a pocket you can put a pen in. And I buy these little glass pipes with a little bowl and decorative blown glass, so I can put it down in there and wear it around. And I get those by the box, and I'll use like one of those for each flavor of the hash I have, because flavor to me is very important.
It is.
And I'm just snobbish. I'm not, you know, I'm not paying for this stuff. That's the problem.
I'm snobbish also. Do you use wicks when you light
No.
it?
I don't.
So well, there you go. I can be extra snobby then, because when I smoke, I am not allowing any of that butane taste into to affect my.
I sold a lot of wick for a long time. I'm a big fan of.
you had shops for a long time. You've had clubs. You've been all around the game there.
I've done it.
You have. What's next for you?
Well, right now the event thing is pretty big. But I like doing private underground events that are not licensed. I don't do licensed events because I'm not hurting anybody. None of the things that are happening at my event are a problem for anybody. So
nobody's complaining.
I like doing what I do.
Have you got into the culinary side of it?
Nah, a little bit. I have some friends at some dinner type events and things like that. I like that stuff. I just I'm more into a larger event. I like big events.
Well, yeah. How many people were at the Hash Bash this year?
Hash Bash Cup. Well, that's a good question. The cup itself, over 3 days, we probably had 5,000 people there. The Hash Bash itself, the town is just overrun with people, so there's really no way to know. But there were tens of thousands of people in town.
Did you imagine that when you started? I mean, when you guys were out.
So when I first got involved, the streets were covered with vendors. And we blew it up to a point where it became a thing where you couldn't get through town because there were all these vendors standing on street corners selling shit to people walking by, people in their cars driving by buying shit. Nobody had any licenses. It was totally crazy. Mm-hmm. And the city got rid of all that because it became a problem. And in doing so, they created this exempted area, the Monroe Street Fair, where they allow some vending, but it's a separate private event. But so it used to be a lot crazier than it really is now. But yeah, I always expected that it would be a mecca for a place to come to gather. We used to be able to set up tables with activists and stuff on the Diag. So I always figured it was a place to come, gather, find out what's happening for the year, and take that information back home to your community. That's how Rainbow Farm got built up. So people would come to Hash Bash and they'd hand out flyers about their events that were happening throughout the year.
Now, are there social clubs going yet, or is it just
There are licensed social. Well, so in Michigan there are licensed consumption lounges starting, but there are also private clubs, and there are some communities that actually have a private club license. So you can form a business as a private club and get a license for a building to occupy it as a private club. And what happens in your private club is your private club's business.
Ooh,
So
I love that. That's
yeah,
that's the way to do that. You know,
yeah,
that
I like to do consulting on those.
that's fantastic. Now, did you do any consulting ever in Spain or in Barcelona with all of
No,
those types of clubs? Have you been there? And
I have not. I was literally contemplating buying a ticket to go to Amsterdam 2 weeks before the Cannabis that got canceled for Corona.
oh yeah.
And like, you know what? I wasn't going to go. Fuck it. I think I'm going to go. And I didn't buy the ticket 2 weeks out. I didn't do it. And then it was like, oh, I should have. And my friends are literally on the airplane flying over and shit's being canceled.
And they canceled it. Oh, that was brutal that they had to cancel that. And you know, they held out really too long because there were people that already moved their booths and a lot of shipping and stuff that was already there. It was terrible. I will say though that this year Cannabis was fantastic and it felt just like the good old days again.
Right.
And you saw more people collectively enjoying just being around each other again more than I've ever seen. And I guess you experienced that, of course, with the hash.
Oh yeah, when I went back to Amsterdam the day it opened up in November.
Yeah.
So Amsterdam opened on November 1st.
Yeah.
And I had left for we knew it was going to open up when I bought my ticket. We knew that's when they were going to make the announcement. We knew they would probably open up, so I decided to go out and just seeing people who you could tell were happy to be back out. You know?
Now, are you worried at all about relapses? That's what we were talking about last night was fall and winter relapses of this virus and causing some sort of.
It's happening big around me now.
Yeah, is it?
I to the point that I've started to avoid crowds because I'm going to have some surgery in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I've stopped attending. Like yesterday, there was a big event that I should have been at in a room full of 200 people.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
But the numbers are starting to go back up around us. And the schools have suggested the kids start wearing masks again. And, you know, it's crazy.
It is crazy. I read another story about that, about several of these kids, you know, they've only been to school so far with masks on their face.
Masks on.
And now that they had to take them off, they had developed all of these complexes because, oh, this is what I actually look like. It was like, oh,
yeah,
shit.
I have a daughter that had never been to school without a mask. She's in the first grade.
Outrageous. So now in around you, do you still have states around you that are still illegal?
Indiana.
So you're seeing lots of Indiana tourists here.
Oh yeah. We've always seen, even Ohio, which has some medical weed, we still see a lot of tourists. We get a lot of tourists in the show.
How is the quality of the bud overall on a kind of a world?
Mids to at best.
Mm-hmm.
But in fairness, I don't buy dispensary weed.
Right. Well, I mean,
but here's the problem. The problem is that weed's on the shelf for 2, 3, 4 months or longer. That weed, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say on the shelf. That weed was harvested that long ago. Now, anybody that's grown weed has smoked their own weed that's 3, 4 months, 6 months old, because you still had some in a jar and you smoked it up. But you had better weed sitting on the same shelf and you chose not to smoke it. You chose to smoke the stuff that might not have been as good because you wanted to get rid of it. You know, you wanted to use it up. And that's kind of the problem, is that the weed sitting on the shelf, first of all, it started out as mids, then it sat there for 2, 3, 4, 6 months. Well, even the cannabis joints I smoked were harvested in March, end of March.
Wow.
But
yeah.
You harvest it and dry it and send it to the lab and get it back and roll it and package it. You know, it takes a month.
And you know, something I had mentioned to Mark that I started seeing in Spain recently that I think is very interesting. In Spain, they're now putting curing times into the sales descriptions. So it'll be a tequila sunrise, narrow leaf, sativa, limonene, cured 16 weeks.
Right.
Cured. They're putting cure times on it as a sales. I've never
Like,
seen that.
So the new thing is to not put anything but terpene profiles, and that's the only thing that means, because nothing else means anything, which I tend to agree with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the THC numbers don't mean anything. The whether they think it's a sativa or a hybrid or an indica doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that means something is terpene profile.
Right. Exactly.
But and now you have to educate people on what that means. And when you listen to what some of these bud tenders think that means, we have a long way to go. So
yeah,
you know, it's I think it's pretty funny because, again, I always say, like you heard me say it a couple of times, I'm into flavor. Why? Because that's what makes the difference. And once you understand terpenes and once you understand flavors, and here's the cool thing, once you understand terpene, you'll understand the food in this country and what they're doing to you. Because they terp your food too. They're very good at it, which is why if you understand terpene, you can then terp your products appropriately. It's the people that terp their products and don't know what they're doing that put out a shitty product. Just like making BHO. If you know what you're doing, it comes out clean as a whistle.
Do you have any good concentrate companies there in Michigan now really putting out some superior products? And
there's a lot. So again, I see a lot of that caregiver market, a lot of that non-licensed market.
mm-hmm.
Rosin's all the big deal right now. Everybody's putting out rosin. Again, live rosin. I see a lot of this stuff as being very much the same. So yeah, there's a bunch of top shelf guys out there, but most guys kind of have an idea what they're doing and putting out a decent product.
Are the prices high or low or?
Well, our dispo prices, if you ask me, are kind of high. But it's all relative. I think depends on where you're at too. I think pricing can be a little higher when you're in the boonies than it is when you're in the city where they're competing with each other.
Sure. And black market running 20-30% lower?
Yeah, definitely. And the prices are falling there. Pounds that used to be $3,000 are going for 1,800.
Oh, you're doing well. Mark Emery said 35 pounds that were 3,500 are going for 350 in Canada.
Yeah, you can easily find $1,200, $1,400 pounds. They were never worth $3,000, but they could try to get them. That to me is the big difference.
Sure. It's fascinating to me that, again, you can go into Barcelona or you can go into Amsterdam, and still right now you can find California cultivars that are 30 euros a gram. And 30 euros a gram, and then you go back to California and it's $300, $450 a pound.
Right.
It's phenomenal how these markets have been able to kind of float the legendary cultivars up here. Have you guys developed any true artist, like a grower that's starting to develop a really individual, like Soma? We have Soma in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, not so much because the way our markets work. I mean, there are guys that have grown a lot of cup winning stuff and things like that, and they're known. The guy named the Leaf Doctor. There are extraction artists that are better known than others. There are some brands that are well known. Some people like over other. I like a company called Michigan Turf Farms. So it all depends. It's just kind of depends on where you're at in the state. A lot of localized heroes,
Sure. How's the magic mushroom market?
Oh, that's huge here now because we've
Is
had
it?
some legalization effort. Cities around us, Ann Arbor's legal, decriminalized, Detroit's decriminalized.
Whoa.
Statewide ballot initiative now.
Are there, can you get retail, like go somewhere and just buy
No.
3 grams? No. Okay.
No.
That's one of the new things that Dana Larson has up in Vancouver. He has the first dispensary there where you can go in and go buy grams of dried mushrooms, and he's also selling
Oh.
coca plants.
So coca plants I would like to chew some coca leaves, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're making tea out of it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I came back from Colombia, I brought some coca tea with me. That was kind of interesting. But I'd love to be able to chew the leaves, and the mushrooms were legal in Amsterdam for a while, and you could buy them over the counter. And I used to come to Amsterdam, and I'd stay on the Warmesstraat at the now it's the St. Christopher Inn. It used to be
I know right what you're talking about.
I forgot what it used to be. It's been so long since I stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to stay there. I'd go by, everything closes at midnight, coffee shops. So I'd go by a little eighth of mushrooms, and I'd go down and I'd walk around the red light district for 3 hours, tripping my nuts off.
Just finished talking about that with
just
with
walking
Derek.
around. I wasn't banging hookers. I was just walking around, looking at the people, laughing, having a good time.
It is the best city in the world for taking mushrooms and walking around. The lights and the freedom that you have to walk these streets, and depending on the time of year there, it is always something to see that's different and cool.
Always.
Yeah. It was funny because I was asking Derek about, have you tried the truffles?
Yes.
Since they, okay, what do you think of the truffles?
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not.
Yeah, I think the key is you have to know somebody there and tell them to
Yes.
go buy one of those kits. You can, because they can still legally sell the kits there, and you can have those grown up in a couple of weeks and have them waiting for you.
No, I know. They're,
Yeah. Well, listen, my friend, I appreciate you having taken some time to talk with me, and good luck on your surgery coming up.
I appreciate.
I'm going to wish you a very speedy recovery, and speedy enough that maybe you can get to Amsterdam sometime in September. And
Yes.
and if
I'm
not,
to that.
yeah, and if not, whenever you get there, I would love to be able to sit down with you and Steve and smoke a little shoe, because yeah, I'd be all over that. Much respect, sir.
Appreciate. Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Take care.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back. You're back just in time. Here we go. Okay, you want to get high? We're gonna get high. Dude, we are really high. Alright, sparking up a fatty. Here we go. Smoking in space. This is my first space doobie right here. Okay, here we go. Ready? We're gonna do a spacewalk.
Now that you're low Earth orbit, you can remove the quantum zero point compressor.
Here we
Bye. It's Captain Hooter.